We're staying with the financials, not just because it's earnings week, everybody, but also because of the Bank of America story, the Bear Stearns trial getting underway, and a sad development yesterday. Bruce Wasserstein hospitalized for an irregular heartbeat. He, of course, is the CEO and savior in many ways of the investment banking firm Lazard. Joining us for this discussion is former investment banker at Lazard, in fact, House of Cards author and Bloomberg contributing editor Bill Cohan. Bill, let us start, though, with the Bank of America issue. A stunning about-face is effectively the way that the New York Times put it this morning. Bank of America agreeing after 6 months of standing in its way to waive attorney-client privilege. What does this say to you?
Well, it says to me that they've gotten with the program, that the political pressure was pretty intense. You could say that that's probably why, Ken Lewis had to give up his post a few weeks ago. And I think that this is just something that Cuomo wanted to see, Congress wanted to see, the SEC wanted to see. What was the nature of this advice they were getting on these very important disclosure issues? And they finally realized, okay. As much as they wanted to stick with the attorney-client privilege, which is a very, very important principle, as you know, Eric, they decided to give up the ghost.
Bill, we spoke with one professor of business at St. John's University, and I'm just going to quote him here. He said the most exciting revelation isn't the substance of the legal advice, particularly Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz. I mean, extremely professional firm. The person that we spoke with, the professor, said that the advice was probably pretty cautious. So what's going to be interesting, as always, the details, sort of names inside and out of the bank. Can you guess at all at what we might hear?
Well, you're right, Deirdre. It's always the emails that are always fascinating. And the question is when were they given the advice, and what was the nature of the advice about the disclosure, especially about the losses? I mean, so much has been made about the bonuses and when they knew that and when they were going to disclose that. But I think it's these ongoing losses that clearly began in October and November and were not released before the shareholder vote. If I'm a shareholder, that's what I'm really upset about, and that's what I'm going to be looking for in terms of the emails, the memos, when they got this advice not to release or to avoid releasing these huge losses, which would have made a big difference in the shareholder vote.
Bill, wasn't it enough that Ken Lewis decided to step down, or do you believe that the analysis is correct, that the amount of reputational damage being done to Bank of America, Merrill Lynch over this issue is still so great that they had to cave on this one issue?
Well, I don't know if it was, reputational damage, Eric, as much as, I think the damage was done by Ken Lewis by not, disclosing to his shareholders before the December 5th shareholder vote the magnitude of the losses. So now it's just damage control, if you will. And I think that the only way to get this behind Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, is A, for Ken Lewis to do what he did, which is resign, and two, unfortunately, to waive this attorney-client privilege, which is so sacrosanct, and provide this information. Let's just see what was there and move on.
Bill, speaking of Ken Lewis, to what extent is the fact that Bank of America still needs a new CEO really pushing the decision of the board to break attorney-client privilege?
Well, you're never going to know how much Ken Lewis was advocating not releasing this data, sticking firm on the client attorney privilege angle. But I think that, once Ken has decided to resign, the boards very quickly want to go with the new break, new, leadership, et cetera. And this is one way to get beyond all the dirty linen of the past and to move forward. And I'm sure they want to do that at the same time that they think about, appointing this interim CEO.
Do you think, though, that it is an obstacle for an interim CEO, even if this issue, even if this disclosure is being made, the fact that it's sort of still hanging over like a dark cloud over Bank of America?
Well, it depends, Eric, what's in these emails and the memos and the advice, right? Because we know that Greg Curl, one of the internal candidates to be interim CEO, was one of the deal guys. We know Moynihan was involved, Brian Moynihan, another internal candidate. So the question is how much they were involved in this business of whether or not to release the losses or not. Again, the best way to get behind them is to bring in somebody from the outside and really start fresh and anew. And there are plenty of good candidates out there to do that, as we've discussed before.
All right.